and his heart broke. He walked back to the bridge that they had slept under, the bridge that his friend had fallen off of when he had simply been bumped by a cart, and his one leg wouldn't keep his balance, and so he fell from the bridge to the ground beneath. That night, he wept. He didn't sleep much. But the next day, Min, the potter, said, "Come, we're going to fetch wood." Well, he thought he'd gotten beyond fetching wood for the kiln. He thought he now would be able to cut clay and to drain clay, but he did what his master asked him to do. And instead of going to the small pieces of wood, Min took him out to a huge tree and said, "Here, we're going to cut this." And the boy said, "Forgive me, but it's going to take us forever to cut this, and there's plenty of wood around for the kiln." And Min, the master potter, said, "Oh, but you see, if I'm going to fulfill this commission, I'm going to need some help. And how are you going to help me if you don't have your own potter's wheel? This tree is not for the kiln. This tree is to make you a wheel of your own." And so they cut the slab out of the tree from which Tree Ear had his own potter's wheel made. And when he returned, as they worked on the potter's wheel, Min's wife said, "Would you be opposed if we gave you a new name rather than this nickname you've carried?" And they gave him a name, a portion of which came from their late son, and a portion of which was his alone, which meant that he was now actually part of the family. And that's how Tree Ear became the apprentice of Min, the master potter, and how he himself became a master potter. Now, I didn't make that story up. That story came to me as a gift. It came from this book. It's for young people, but I think any of you would enjoy it. There's a lot more to it than what I've shared. It's called A Single Shard by Linda Sue Park. It was given to me by a church member, Jody Robinson, over a year ago, and I knew I loved the story. I wasn't sure how it would ever fit. And as this apprenticeship study came about, I realized this gift was for this Sunday, was for this time. Because you see, as I described last week, Tree Ear had moved from being someone who simply watched, a spectator, to someone who admired the work he saw, to someone who followed the master around to an apprentice. That was his journey, and it was a great adventure. And it was an adventure that didn't follow a straight line. It took a lot of meandering curves, and there was even danger involved. And it was only after he felt like he had failed at it that he finally became the apprentice that he was called to be all along. Have you ever yearned to learn something as much as Tree Ear yearned to be a potter? Have you ever wanted to know something so badly that you were fascinated by it, that you watched it, that you tried it on your own, that you tried to learn to be as good as the person you admire? That's what we're about in this apprenticeship process. It's not just another study. It's not just another project or program. This is a way of our focusing our yearning to be like Jesus in such a way that we can actually do it, that we can make that journey that Tree Ear made from being a spectator to being an apprentice. A few weeks ago, a couple of months ago now, the staff went on a half-day retreat. We went to visit a friend of ours, a friend of mine here in Hendersonville, whose name is Danielle McDaniel. Some of you may know Danielle. She calls herself the Clay Lady. We first met her when the girls were young. She would come and do birthday parties and make things from clay. And it might be a mask, or it might be a plate, or it might be a pot of some kind. And the thing that struck me about Danielle, even all those years ago, was that she not only taught you how to make a craft object, she taught you about being an artist. You take what you think and you take what you feel and you mix it all up and you make something real. That's what she says. It's about becoming an artist in everything that you do, not just working with clay. And so I asked her if she would be willing to work with the staff to make some projects here, but also to talk to us about being an artist, about being apprentices, because we knew this study was coming up. Now, one of the things we appreciate in our tradition is our diversity. So this apprenticeship study is not about making you all act alike or look alike or say the same things, because we appreciate the beauty of the diversity of all of you. But what Danielle did with us is she gave us the same amount of clay. She gave us exactly the same basic instructions. She gave us the same set of clay paints to paint when we had gotten done with our work of art. And then she set us free to create. You'll see some of the examples up here, and if you look around, you'll notice that no two are alike, and some of them are radically different. Some of them, like mine, are in the more, shall we say, primitive mode, but some are much more elegant and beautiful. But there are no two alike. You see, this apprenticeship work that we're doing together is like giving you the piece of clay, the clay paints, the basic instructions, and then freeing you to grow into that person that Jesus is calling you to be, that God created you to be. That's what apprenticeship is about. We're not turning out Stepford disciples here, okay? We're not turning out cookie-cutter Christians here. We are turning out people who can live and grow and study and be apprentices of Jesus Christ in the most creative and imaginative and artistic way possible. Now that sounds like an adventure to me, doesn't it to you? Come along with us. In making his own apprentices,